Hello again, Michael Ware with the IFC's Warrior Wednesday. We've got going on here today. We've got a specialist. I say that special guest all the time. I think they're all special, but we've got a gentleman who is willing to pop on and visit with us from across the pond. And it's a really interesting conversation we're going to have today because it might take some of you far out of your comfort zone, and it should. And it might give you some things to think about that you have long held and taken for granted. So we've got Jon Richelieu-Booth here today. But before we hop into that, I need to let you guys know IFC benefits from your charity. We benefit from your membership. If you're a member, great. If you're not a member, please consider becoming one. As always, go to our website. And I'm not able, through all kinds of rules that are changing on social media platforms, to even mention the website's name and tell you how to get there because they're kicking us off for linking other places, if you can believe it. But that's where we're at. So if you search for Iowa Firearms Coalition on the internet, and we can still mention various browsers, although I won't. If you do that, you'll navigate to our site. We've got trusted partners there and businesses that support us. Please support them, because they're who help make all these things possible. So let's get right down to it. Jon, is it okay if I just refer to you as Jon? Is that all right?
Absolutely, sir.
All right. So I was skimming the internet and I saw I don't remember if it was Second Amendment Foundation, maybe NRA. I don't remember where I saw it, but somebody had linked to an article that said a gentleman from the UK had posted a picture of himself while he was in America doing American things, and all kinds of chaos and calamity. Charges were levied against this man, arrests, all kinds of stuff had happened to him for having posted a picture of him utilizing a firearm. Have I said anything there that's wrong?
No, you're absolutely spot on.
Does it get worse from there?
It gets considerably worse. There's a little bit of context,
okay,
that I'm sure your listeners, your viewers will probably kind of find on the internet, because the internet never forgets. So let me give a little bit of context. So I have my own business. It's called Phoenix Evolution Consulting, and in general strokes, I work in IT as a senior project manager / program manager. And I have been doing this for about 10 years as a contractor, and I've only ever had one problem with a client refusing to pay me, which is unfortunately what's brought us to this point. So the context is that I have a client that owes me money that is on one of the biggest platforms in the world, LinkedIn. And I don't block anyone unless I absolutely have to. So this guy didn't matter to me. He owed me money. I wasn't going after him personally. I stopped pursuing him for a while because I lost my parents in a car crash. And I was invited to Florida in 2024 by my good friend Richard, who I used to work with. And he said we should do this again. So I went back in 2025. Because I was turning 50. Mm-hmm. Don't feel it, but I was turning 50 and everyone's like, you got to go do something big. So I go to visit with my friend and he says, so just to let you know, we're up in the Florida Panhandle for a few days for the 4th. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to leave you in my house. There's some guests there anyway. You'll be fine, and we'll see you in a couple of days. Absolutely fine with that. And then the plans changed. He said, tell you what, come up to the Panhandle. My son's going to drive up because he's not in a trial. He'll pick you up at the airport and drive you up. So we land, we get through immigration, everything. And sure enough, my friend's son Michael's waiting for me. We hop in the truck and we speed up to the Panhandle. It takes about 7 hours. It's a hike. And we have the 4th of July, which is one of my favorite holidays, notwithstanding the fact that I was in America. And on the 5th, we're all sitting around, and Corey, my new friend, Richard's, I'll call him son-in-law, he gets this glint in his eye. He goes, hey, you want to do something American? You want to shoot some guns? And my friend Richard is literally buying into this. And he's like, yeah, come on, let's do something American. Let's do it. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. If I can say that, hell yeah. So I go outside and we get a whole mess of firearms. We get some 9mm, there's a pistol, there's a shotgun, there's a hunting rifle, there's an automatic rifle, all the toys.
Yeah.
Nothing like a rocket launcher or a flamethrower, but I'm sure if he'd have asked, he'd have probably found one. So anyway,
that kind of guy. Sounds great.
Absolutely. The day before July the 4th, I actually went to my first American gun store, and as soon as I opened my mouth, you could see the Americans going, "Wait, didn't we beat those guys?" So anyway, I'm out the rear of the property, and that's where the photos come from. And I'm shooting a variety of firearms, and my friend Richard takes some photos. And the one that everyone will know, the NRA shared this one, and I'm there with the shotgun, and I've got one eye shut, I've got it up against me, and I'm like, I look like I don't have a clue. I don't. I absolutely don't. This is like giving somebody from the 1800s a rocket and saying, right, you can fly. They're just going to look at you like you're crazy. So he snaps the photo, and then he goes, John, don't do anything. So I'm standing there with this shotgun, and damn thing's heavy. And he's like, I'm going to correct your stance. I'm going to line it up properly. Open both your eyes. So my friend Richard, Corey, and Richard's son Michael guided me through how to use a shotgun, how to breathe properly, pull the trigger, and hit the target. Yep, there I am. Terrified of that shotgun. Absolutely terrified.
Well, is it okay if I offer you some quick critique?
Yeah, please.
Probably not the best photograph to have all over the internet, but you got to be famous for something. When I saw this, I'm like, I don't sense that he's fired a lot of guns, but that's neither here nor there. So go ahead, John. Go ahead with your story, please.
You're absolutely correct. So obviously we cooked off a couple of rounds with a shotgun. Then we went on to the hunting rifle. Then we went on to the automatic rifle. It was just so much damn fun. And I'd got a few photos. So one of my friends turned around and said, you should start like a little bit of a diary when you get back to UK. Put some pictures out on your LinkedIn along with your normal content you put out. So all right. So about I'm going to say something like the 11th or the 12th of August, I put out that photo of me with a shotgun. And I'm talking about what I've got going on in my day. I'm looking for a new client because I'm out of contract. And if you're out of contract like I am, I wish you all the luck in the world. A couple of days later, there's a phone call. And the police are on the other end of the phone. And it's not from a police number. It's just from a cellular telephone, a mobile number. And the police officer says, yeah, it's West Yorkshire Police. That's a funny name. Doesn't laugh. I'm like, oh, okay, let's not make jokes. I'm looking for you, but you're not at home. I think you'll find I am. So he'd gone to my rental property thinking that's where I was. So I've got nothing to hide. I've been a very, very good boy for 50 years. And I gave him my address. So I go change clothes so I don't look too threatening because I'm in gym gear. And I'm not exactly a small guy. So I change my clothes and I'm waiting for the officer on the drive. And he walks up and he does the normal trick that people do when they feel a little bit intimidated. He puts his thumbs under his vest and goes, do you know why I'm here? So, obviously my sarcasm, I know you Americans don't really get sarcasm. But sorry, I love you. I love you all. Sorry. But he says, do you know why I'm here? And I turned and said, well, the last time you people were here, oh, Jesus, can I say that? The last time you were here, I got told my entire family was dead, so I'm not going to enjoy this, am I? And he puffs his chest out a bit more and he goes, well, we can come and do what we want and we can speak to you whenever we want. We're the police. So I think I audibly rolled my eyes at this guy. And he says, you know, you've posted a picture on social media that's caused somebody some distress. And I'm like, oh, right. Keir Starmer doesn't like me then. Because I thought I've been very critical of the Prime Minister. And I thought, you know, there'd been a complaint under the whatever Terrorism Act or something that I'm a straight white man, I'm a straight white male, so I'm a danger. Anyway, it turns out that somebody had made a complaint. It wasn't the Prime Minister. So I successfully guessed that it was my client. And said, what's he triggered by? Sorry, that was a firearm joke there. What's he triggered by? Well, you know, you posted. We got a report of a male using firearms, and you know, this guy's da 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 da. I went, right. This guy owes me a lot of money. He owes me £30,000. So call it about what? We'll call it about $35,000.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's like, you've got to look at how your pictures make people feel. And I laughed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I didn't mention the guy at all. I didn't make any threats against him. I have never met the guy. So the officer goes, well, okay, just, you know, think about what you post. So I turned around and I said to the officer, and this is something you should never do. I offered to let the officer into my house to inspect the photograph. I'm naive. I'll be absolutely honest, Michael. I've been a good boy for all my life. I don't break the law. I might wear a bat suit, but, you know. So I invited this guy and I said, look, I can take you to my phone right now, my cell phone. I can pull the photo up. You will see, 1, it was from Facebook Messenger. 2, you can see it wasn't sent by me. And 3, you can see the geotags on it quite clearly state it's the Florida Panhandle. He wasn't interested. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I won't post any more pictures. And I posted about 3 pictures in a row. 1 was the shotgun. 1 was me at the gun store. And 1 was me behind a workbench. One of those collapsible workbenches you get with all the firearms laid out.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And off he goes. So I think that's the end of it. And about 8 days later, there's a knock at my door, and I'm on a Teams call with a friend, and I go to the front door, and it's this same police officer, but this time he's brought his boyfriend with him because clearly, you know, needs backup. And he knocked on the door. I opened the door. I'm wearing a dressing gown and slippers, and he goes, "You're under arrest." And I just looked at him. What, are you kidding me? He went, "What's in? You're under arrest." And he pushed his way in. And it transpired that there'd been an accusation of stalking made. Now, under the commercial payment, late payment of commercial debts act, which I believe is 1988, you are allowed to pursue debts. You are allowed to go to people's businesses. You're allowed to make inquiries. And I swear on my life, I have never been to his house. I have been to his properties, his business properties, to try and get hold of him, to sit down and have a conversation and go, "Andy, why aren't you paying me? What have I done?" Police officers don't care. They take me upstairs. Well, one of them takes me upstairs, watches me go to the restroom, and watches me get dressed. His mate's walking around downstairs without any oversight. It's worth mentioning that his body cam wasn't on, or I believe it wasn't on. Now, one of the rules of the Chapter 6 of the European Court of Human Rights, or the Human Rights Act 1988, is that if there's a recording, you should be told that, you know, we are recording for our safety and yours.
Mm-hmm.
He failed. There was no warrant displayed. So this is, to my mind, it's an illegal arrest. But I am not going to resist because that's how problems happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I am putting my sneakers on and he walks around my front room picking devices up. He picks my cell phone up, he picks my Microsoft Surface tablet up, and he picks my laptop because these are going with us. So I'm gobsmacked at this point. So I am transported to the police station, where I am brought in front of the desk sergeant, and I am told I've been arrested on suspicion of possession of a firearm and stalking with intent to cause fear of violence. Now, one of the biggest problems here is that I've never been to his house. So I don't know how I can stalk him if I've never been to his house. So I sit down, I am thrown in a cell, and I sit down and I read what's called PACE. Now, I don't know if your listeners would know what PACE is because it's an English thing, but it is basically the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, 1984. Ironically enough, Orwell would be proud.
Yes.
These jokes write themselves, Michael, don't they?
I know. We laugh because we don't have an alternative that's healthy. Go ahead. Yes.
Be careful what you laugh about. They'll arrest you for that soon.
I know. Oh, we're well on our way. When you can get arrested for a photograph that's got nothing to do with nothing. Yeah, go ahead. Anyway, all right. So you're reading 1984. Yeah.
So I'm in the cell block, and I am barefoot, which is a breach of my human rights. They haven't given me anything for my feet. They've taken my belt. They've taken my hoodie. So I'm cold. I get taken to a interview room. I'm told that my solicitor is there, my lawyer. And I sit down and I explain to the solicitor what has happened. I said, look, I don't have a shotgun. I've never had a shotgun. That's the first time I've fired a shotgun, or any weapon, in fact. I've never been to the guy's house. I've gone to his business premises. I'll freely admit that. But I don't know what's going on here. And the lawyer said, don't worry, they've got nothing. This is BS. The lawyer was about 12, and even he knew it was BS. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't shaving at this point. Anyway, these two police officers come in. One identifies himself as PC Jamshid, and the other one, I didn't catch his name, but he was a very weaselly little man in a shirt and tie. He wasn't in a uniform. And they proceed to read me the statement that the complainant has made. And apparently, well, he told some lies in the statement, that I'd made threats, I'd been fired, and I worked for him. I didn't. He hired my business. You cannot work for somebody if they hire your business. I had made no threats, and I'd never been to his house. And he hadn't fired me because, unfortunately for them, I had an email from the client that I was working for saying, sorry, I didn't get a chance to speak to you before you left. Thank you for all your hard work. Good luck. So it unraveled his entire story. So I asked the officer, I said, if you want me to respond to it, can I take a look at that statement? And once again, he breached PACE and said, no, that's one of my legal rights to have that document.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, I didn't cause a problem. I didn't want to. So I said, all right, let's do this from memory. So I reeled off when I worked there, what I did, how I did it, where I was when I had the photo taken. I dismissed everything this guy had on me. And I looked over at my lawyer, and my lawyer's going, but surreptitiously, because you don't do that in front of the police, they'll have you shot. Anyway, sorry, dark humour. It's the only way to get through it. So anyway, what happens is I am taken back to my cell, and I'm left stewing for an hour. I'm released, and they retain my devices. At this point, I am released on what is called police bail. Mm-hmm. I cannot go to his house. I cannot contact him. They have seized my laptop, my tablet, and my cell phone. So I effectively have been prevented from working.
Right.
Which is a breach of my human rights. It's a breach of my personal and professional boundaries. So I get home, and I I start drinking, which is not good. But I'm in pain, and that's what I did. I become invisible. Nobody sees me. I leave the house at different times. I sit in the dark. Nobody sees me. I'm a ghost. Imagine my surprise when the police rock up at my house 3 times while I'm out looking for me. They leave no documentation to say they'd been. If it wasn't for my neighbours, I wouldn't know they'd been. So they were not official visits. They came on the day of my parents' inquest when I was in court defending my father's memory. I won. There's no blame on him, but they still interfered in my life on that day. So
are you saying that's are you saying just for people who aren't able to keep up with what you're saying, you view that as intimidation?
It was intimidation.
Okay, go ahead.
It was pure intimidation.
Okay.
So fast forward to the week before I am due to go back and answer police bail, which was at the back end of November. It was the 7th, I believe. I'm just trying to find the date here. I believe it was the 17th of, let's have a look. Yes, it was the early hours of the 17th of October, which was just over a week before I was due to answer bail. And it's 1:30 in the morning. And once again, they turn up banging on my door. This is not 10:30 at night. This is 1:30 in the morning. I am arrested for breaching bail. The conditions were I couldn't contact him and I couldn't go to his house. Neither of those things had been done. It was a false statement made by the complainant based on a statement made by one of his employees. It was a false arrest. It was an illegal arrest. It was an unlawful arrest. I was thrown in the cells again. When I got out, when I got in front of a police officer to be interviewed, she looked at the paperwork and went, "Why are you here? There's no reason you should be here." And my lawyer agreed. I was released from police custody and I was told to report on the 25th to answer bail, which was about a week later. I went back to answer police bail and was told that all the charges were being dropped. And why wouldn't there be? Because there's no evidence, Michael. I was then charged with a separate offence, which is a Section 4A public order offence. And it was displaying imagery or text to cause fear, alarm, and distress. That's a Section 4A public order offence. The stalking didn't matter because it never happened. The possession of a firearm didn't happen. Never happened, didn't matter. Both times the police came to arrest me, a suspected criminal with a firearm. How many armed officers do you think were there?
Probably very few from the way that this story is unfolding.
None.
Yeah.
They didn't even have, the police officers had stab vests on. If I had a shotgun, they would be toast. That is ineptitude at the highest level.
Well, John, they didn't. I wasn't there. I don't know. And I'm not very familiar with the policing habits in your neighborhood. But it sounds to me as if they didn't consider you any kind of genuine threat whatsoever, or they would have prepared differently to go gather you.
Yeah, there was no SWAT officers. We call them ARV, armed response. There were no armed response officers. There's nothing. My life was turned upside down for 13 weeks. At this point, I was released from bail, charged with Section 4A public order offence and told to report to court in a month. It was going to court. So I turned around and I got myself a new solicitor. And I told my new solicitor, I want to go to Crown Court, which is not a local court. The Crown Court is the bigger court.
Okay.
And in a Crown Court, you have, or you used to have, the right to trial by jury. You have the right as a free man to be tried by a jury of your peers.
Okay.
Within 2 weeks, the case was dropped. I got a letter from the CPS saying the charges are all being dropped because there isn't a reasonable likelihood of prosecution, a successful prosecution. And why would there be? Because it's a lie.
Yeah.
So they uprooted my life for 13 weeks. They caused me psychological pain. I considered killing myself.
Oh, John.
I wanted to go home. I miss my parents. At this point, I had nothing to live for. I wanted to go home. I'd had absolutely enough. And I got angry. So I filed a complaint with the police, which took them 53 days to respond to. This complaint is still ongoing.
The complaint being?
The complaint is that they have breached my human rights. They have breached PACE. They have not done their jobs. They have prevented me from working. They have damaged my family. They've damaged my reputation in my community. They've damaged my professional reputation. I want satisfaction for this.
Yeah.
I do not feel safe in the UK. I'm sure your viewers are very familiar. And I can't remember the exact text off the top of my head, but I believe it's something like a well-regulated militia and necessary to the security of the states, and the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Yeah.
And my interpretation of that, and I think that's why this conversation is possibly going to be very interesting to your listeners, is without a Second Amendment, you do not have the First Amendment. You do not have freedom of speech. Look at the UK. People are getting locked up for memes or Facebook posts. Thank you.
Yeah, well, a well-regulated militia, comma. This is. Let me help you with this. You probably know these things. You've expressed interest in becoming American, immigrating, so to speak. But the commas make a huge difference. Most people miss that. A well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed. Pretty big deal. Okay, I interrupted. We're showing that on the screen for those of you listening. There it is for you. Those of you watching, you can see it. John, please continue.
It's all good. Yeah, so thank you. I kind of got the broad strokes there, but not quite perfect. But I do believe that this is one of the things with the United Kingdom that, in my opinion, not everybody shares, is a massive mistake. We do not have the ability as private citizens to keep our government in check. And that, at its heart, to me, is what the Second Amendment means. Is, if the government are doing something you don't like, you can just go, right, come on, let's have a conversation. Mm-hmm. It's not about overthrowing. It's not about coups, because we've seen what happens with regimes in the world that keep their people down. Look at Iran at the moment. A regime that should fall. It's horrible what's going on there, but America's doing the right thing, and in the UK we are seeing our rights being stripped from us one by one. The good people are leaving. I have no family in the UK. My partner's American. My friends are American. And when Elon Musk tweeted, "This is why we have a First and Second Amendment," my story went viral. I was on GB News. I was on Fox. I was on Fox 35 Orlando. I was in the New York, I think it was New York Post. I was in the Telegraph, the Daily Telegraph. I was everywhere, and people have stopped me in the street, and they recognised me from the story and said, "Just keep going, and we hope you get out." I do not feel this is not my country anymore. This is not my parents' country. I'm going to leave. I'm going to take all my money with me. I'm going to take all my business, my property, my assets with me, and I will, with God's help, become an American. I will contribute to America. I will be a good citizen. I will raise a family in America, and I'll do it right. I won't hop a border. I won't expect a free ride, because I never have had that in my life, and I don't want it, because you don't value what you don't earn.
Well, when people listen to this, they think a couple things. Depending on where you're at, they're saying, well, that'll never happen here. Or depending on a handful of states that are going that direction. In America right now, they're saying, I've got news for you. It's already here. Well, we're already experiencing it. There are places. Now, Iowa tends to be very insulated. We're between two major rivers in the Bible Belt and in the middle of the country, okay? So we're insulated by a lot of things, including policy from time to time. But when you get out on either coast, depending on where you're at, especially northeastern United States, or almost all of the West Coast now, you are in real trouble if you're going to exercise the Second Amendment or make that attempt or think in those ways and offer those kinds of parallels. They're quickly making all those things illegal, discouraging them. You sound as if your story, in which I didn't know all that before. I thought I understood your story, John, but I'm glad to have a little bit more, as you said, context, a little bit more depth.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Michael. I just want everyone to be able to understand I'm not hiding anything. I'm not lying, and I'm not saying these things, happened or didn't happen. I'm just saying here's the full story for you. Make your own minds up. Sorry, I interrupted you, Michael. Carry on, please.
No, it's okay. When a photograph of you doing something completely legal, moral, and ethical in another place, it doesn't matter, is used against you to say, listen, I want to strip this person of their life, their liberty, their pursuit of happiness. I want these things systematically removed, for good reason or not. You're in a perilous place, and you should remove yourself from that if you can. Now, not everybody, John, I'm glad for you that you have the desire and the means and the fortitude, the guts to do what you're going to do. Not everybody has that. In fact, if you really want to talk about it, too few do. Almost everybody is kind of where they are, and they're like, well, I don't think I could afford to liquidate and move. I don't know how I would do that. I don't know if I could get employment somewhere else. I don't know if I could take my children away from their family, friends, their community, their schools, whatever it is. I don't think I could do that. And even if I was able to do that financially or with very little ill impact to them, I just don't think I could pull it off. I don't have the wherewithal for it. You don't find very many people that say, yep, I'm out here, and they mean it. And then they pack the car and they go do it. It's exceedingly hard. It's not that it can't be done. But when you're in a position where your rights either A, don't exist, or B, can be removed at whim, that's a dastardly place to be.
There was a girl, might be of use to your listeners, call her Jade. She's on Instagram, Jade Warwick, the Warwick Report. And she posted a picture of me. She made a couple of short videos on Instagram about it. And she's recently met with a guy called Tommy Robinson, who is a British guy. He's had a colourful past, but he's on his redemption arc. He's making things right. And he's one of the loudest voices on what is called the far right, talking about all this BS with immigration, the government stripping rights. And it is hard to pick up and move somewhere completely different. Not everyone, as you say, would do it. Not everybody has the means to do it. I'm blessed. I am my father's son. My father was military. He's been gone nearly 3 years now, but I can still hear what he would be doing. I can still hear him saying, right, okay, you're a project manager, you plan things for a living, do this, take this step, take that step, take the other step. And the steps all add up. It's like the quote from Lord of the Rings, just to throw a bit of geek trivia in there, when they're talking about the ring, and the line is, feet are dangerous things. If you don't control them, they'll take you out of the door and you'll be miles away before you know it. Mm-hmm. You need to do that. And when a country like the UK falls, which it is falling, get out of Dodge. To your listeners who may think, oh, it'll never happen here, like you say, it's happening in some states. There's a lot of misinformation. That's what the left love to call it. There's a lot of misinformation out there from the left, about nobody needs a magazine of 100 rounds. Nobody needs this much. Nobody needs this many firearms. Well, that's not your call to make. You've got a Second Amendment, and people like the NRA, people like yourself. I follow a lot of people on YouTube as well. Cullion Noir, a really good guy. He did a shout out and talked about me. But you've all got the same thing in common. If we do not fight for that Second Amendment, what is to stop the government? And I do not believe Donald Trump would do it. I believe it would be much more likely to be a Democrat politician that would do it. But if we do not fight for our rights and we do not hold on to those rights, what's to stop a future government stripping them and doing what's happening in the UK? Someone once said America is the last bastion of liberty. If we fall here, the world falls. And I believe that.
I happen to agree with that statement. The one you made before about whether a Republican or whoever you paraphrased, it was probably Trump, whatever, you don't think they would do it. This isn't a swipe at Trump supporters or Republicans, but I'm telling you, I've learned some harsh lessons in my time working with people that craft law and elected officials. And I will tell you, at the risk of having a lot of people get really angry with me, I question whether they are ever actually your friends. Now, a few of them may actually be brothers in Christ or something like that, to where there's a level and a different understanding for different purposes. But I'm telling you, I would put it past nobody that I have ever worked with to be corrupted, morally or otherwise. So we need to be very careful about that. We think that some of these people are on our side, and for the time being, some of them are, right up until the minute that they are not. So be very, very careful.
Two words spring to mind, and it's Latin, and I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation. Cui bono, and that's Latin for who profits. That's the question you got to ask yourself: who profits? Like you said, they're on our side for now, and I always thought I was a Democrat, all the way up to like 2016, and I realized that my politics were not democratic. My politics are far more Republican, and I don't care somebody's sexuality, somebody's color, somebody's creed, somebody's religion. If you're right with me and you're respectful, you'll get the same from me. But you've got to have a country. You've got to fight for what you've got, because if the Second Amendment goes, you're going to be England 2.0. You're done. You're cooked.
Yeah. And
this is all down to the lawmakers that we elected. The Labour Party, which is in effect a socialist party. The benefits bill is the highest it's ever been. Public services, civil servants, we've got more than we've ever got, but productivity hasn't risen in 20 some years. Socialism doesn't work. It never has, it never will. And I look at America and I look at what's happening in America at the moment, and it's still the greatest place on earth. And I pray that God does lead me there. I would love nothing more than to raise my family there. But, we'll see what his plans are for me.
I'm biased heavily because I live here. But I'm telling you, I have told a lot of people, doesn't matter whether they're clients and customers that come through my shop or visiting with people at church or just out and about on these kinds of programs through IFC's Warrior Wednesday, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, most of us listening to this, most of us participating with this right now, John, have won the birth lottery by virtue of being born when and where that we were. Can you imagine for 1 minute being born in Rwanda at any time in the last 3,000 years? Yeah. That's a very, very tough place to be born and grow up. So let first of all count your blessings. But oh, by the way, you've got a responsibility to contribute. Yeah. And it comes with a framework. And usually you need guidance on what constitutes that moral framework, and these ethical pillars that keep it all in place. So you can't move somewhere or go somewhere or grow up somewhere enjoying the shelter, that the roof that these pillars hold up, and then walk outside and kick them all down.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is this is what you look at. And I know this is more of a Second Amendment conversation. It kind of does branch out. But I think that's why when you look at uncontrolled immigration, you've got to be very careful who you let in. We're finding this in the UK. You know, you win the birth lottery by being born in America. My partner moved to America many, many years ago. Her and her family fled religious persecution. And they've been in America for years. The family love me, you know, we're solid. But they understand that having the ability to live and grow old in America is an absolute gift, and there's responsibilities that come with it. Contribute and make sure that the society you pass on to your children, your grandchildren, you know, is solid and it's going to last.
Mm-hmm.
Because you take your eye off the ball, and you know that's the one thing that scares me, is how fast the UK got to the state it is. And I never imagined I would have been arrested for a photo with no proof behind it. I fully believe that this was paid. I don't believe it was a sanctioned arrest. I've not seen any paperwork. I've not seen anything backing it up, saying there's been probable cause. This guy has threatened him. We've got GPS data. They seized all my devices, Michael, all of them. And when I went to pick them up, and I picked them up on the 20th of October, they were all sealed in an evidence bag. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen it or if any of your listeners or viewers would have seen it, but when you are investigating a case and you have some physical evidence, you open the bag, you do what you need to do with it, you then put the item back in the bag, reseal it, staple it shut, and you fill the front out to say, my name's Michael Ware, I've investigated this laptop, I was looking for GPS data. Or, my name is Jon Richelieu-Booth, I've investigated this cell phone, there's no messages or emails. None of that was done. My devices were returned to me untouched, which makes me think the punishment is the process. For 13 weeks, I wasn't able to operate my business. They had all my devices. It's a very dark thing that happened, and I'm fighting it at the moment. I'm waiting. It's going to be the 20th of April that I hear back from the Independent Office of Police Complaints and the Professional Standards Directorate of West Yorkshire Police, and they have said they will give me an outcome on the 20th of April or thereabouts. The exact email was, you'll get an update with your outcome by the next 28-day update. Now, let's not forget here, I made this complaint back in December. We are now in April. All of the evidence, all of the body cam footage will have been deleted. I am prepared for that. I believe that's going to be the case. I will sound like a paranoid conspiracy nut job here. I'm very aware of how I sound, but I do not believe this was done fairly, and I do not believe the investigation will be done fairly, and that is why when the investigation through the police concludes, I will be securing legal counsel and I will be suing the living sequence off everybody that's involved.
Well, I was about to ask about this because it seems to me that you can't walk across the street anywhere in the neighborhood that you're describing without 50 cameras capturing you doing something.
Yep.
It truly has turned into what some people might refer to as the nanny state in some of these areas. Okay. And so since people are relying heavily on surveillance and tracking and electronic touches, won't it be, or shouldn't it ordinarily be easy, or at least I should reword this. aren't you capable of being able to prove what happened when and under what circumstance by virtue of everybody being tracked everywhere that they go? I mean, I would like to think that that ought to not only exonerate you, but call into question some of the people involved with this.
I think was it Franklin that said a society that gives up freedom for security deserves neither.
Yeah.
We are, as you're quite right, we are a surveillance state.
Mm-hmm.
Your viewers, your listeners will not have heard of this, but there's something coming in the UK called Project Servitor, which is basically city centre surveillance to capture criminals. The infringements on civil liberties there are hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. We're just infringing your rights a little bit. We're taking your photo because we want to catch bad guys. Well, what about all these people that are in the north of England? There's a big scandal about the grooming of children, which is horrible. And it's been done by a certain demographic, which I won't say on the internet because I will get myself cancelled. But we all know. I could prove within 15 minutes. I don't even think I'd need 15 minutes because I'm a pretty damn good detective. I could prove in 15 minutes that I've never been to the address in York that I was accused of going to. I can prove that I have never sent him an email or a text or a call. I only had his phone number and address a week before my first arrest. And that was from my business partner, who paid a private detective to go find him. And my business partner took what's called an LBA, a letter before action. And he took it to this individual's home to hand deliver it, which is illegal, which you're legally allowed to do. It's a legal right. I had that information, and I had a picture of his house, which I used as my LinkedIn banner for 24 hours in a stupid attempt to get him to call me. But when you're dealing with cowards and thieves, they're not going to. But, as you say, the nanny state, there's all the surveillance there. They could have proved if I was there. Get his security system, get photos, get times and dates, look at my phone, take my GPS data. But it does not matter, because this was a narrative that was crafted. And, you know, whether you love or you hate her, Monica Lewinsky gives a really good TED Talk on what happened to her with President Clinton. And in that TED Talk, she talks about controlling the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at everything, Michael, that's been done over the last 20 years, people control the narrative. Democrats, Republicans, they all do it. So, you know, all I can do now is I've taken the knocks, I've taken the lumps on the chin. I've been left here for the last, I'm going to say probably about 13 or 14 weeks, unable to work, ostracized by my neighbours. My life here is ruined. I would much rather go to America, be in the arms of the woman I love, the arms of my friends and family, and I would much rather be fighting for something like that. So, you know, if I can just offer a closing thought of defend the Second Amendment like your life depends on it, because it does.
Well, we should end there. That's exactly right. You heard it from somebody who doesn't live in a country that has the option to embrace, to enjoy, or to contribute to the Second Amendment. And we're darn glad that we have it. Jon, thank you for coming on with us today. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your life. We'll be pulling for you. I would like to see you we would like to see you immigrate and become American. I think that would be fantastic. And this has been a cautionary tale. I hope that people understand that for what it is. And again, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for me, Michael. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Bye now.
Thanks.